Derek Coleman is a published writer residing in Columbus, Ohio. Derek is an enthusiastic participant in video game and internet culture. He shares with us his true life story of family indoctrination that ultimately led to his very cult-like life. We also discuss why people join cults like Scientology, Jehovah's Witnesses, Xenos, and many more. A trigger warning is also in effect due to the stories of abuse and including Derek's own experience with the extremely controversial therapy known as rebirthing. So without further ado, journey with us through the spooky door.
And welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Of course.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
So where do you want to start?
Ultimately, I did keep some good notes on my on what I'd went through during the time. As you can see, this journal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty full.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was scary. So, yeah. You guys have any questions you want to start off with?
Well, go ahead and just start from the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
From the beginning.
Where did it start?
First,
Yeah.
I was born.
Maybe not that
I
far
exploded out into sunshine.
No, farther than that.
All right. First, I was a twinkle in my dad's eye. Honestly, I guess where it started literally was, I'm trying to think, because it was more like me noticing that things were way more nasty than they were. What I really noticed was enabling of really bad behavior, drugs, violence, alcohol, all these things, and then letting the person succumb to it and then acting like they're your savior.
Oh,
it's another extension of Psy-ops.
Yeah.
So for a good example is when I was in high school, I'm not particularly proud of this, but I did take, like LSD here and there. I did take ecstasy a handful of times. And my my family was like, oh, all right, hope you had fun. That's cool. All right. And, when things started looking shitty in my life, whether it was caused by any narcotics and engagement or not, that's when they were, oh, we'll help you. No, don't worry. We'll take care of you. We'll take care of you. And then that's when it gets really dark, when you have to be with them for long periods of time. And, wow. Because there's I would say that there's two major phases to what I went through. Mm-hmm. It would be when I was a preteen to young adult, and then 2019 to 2020. That was the second phase.
Okay.
So recent one. The
Yeah.
second
It's
one's
pretty
recent.
recent. No, I technically escaped November 3rd, 2020.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that story, 'cause that's going to be the climax of the story.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
It gets nasty.
So you've been in and this doesn't really have a name, right?
No, it's definitely not a name, and it's definitely more accustomed to and specific to my family, which is really shitty. No, I remember when I told you about this, I drew parallels to the Moonies because of the altruism aspect.
Yeah.
But when I really compare it to the Church of Xenos, a lot of similarities show up.
Xenos or Xenos?
Xenos.
Xenos.
Okay.
Xenos.
Yeah.
I think that's,
I know about
who
Xenos.
knows?
Yeah. But it's about altruism.
Yeah.
Everything must be pure. Everything must be right. Yeah. It's very hard. I'm trying to think of the word for it. It's forced will. That's just that thing that we're talking about.
Right.
So what's perceived as right by them is technically not per se right.
No, not inherently right or even
Right.
technically right.
Right. Especially if it's not ultimately your choice. It's somebody else's choice they're making for you.
All right. Well, in this one I'm seeing, it's May 10th, 2020, and I'm scared that that they hate me, and I am saying I know they're going to flip out on me because they don't think I express gratitude, and every interaction I have with them is negative. This is not wanting me to experience this kind of negativity, and why am I being punished? And then I even go in further to say, what about a counter argument? Stop doing things that warrant response from them. And then counter. Is it unable for me to meet? It is unable for me to meet their expectations. Some are reasonable, some are not. some come from a place of privilege and ableism. And that's why reason I bring that up, because the moment I started thinking like that and really started looking into it,
Right.
actually was the moment I said the word ableism to them. They threw a beer bottle at my head.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that kind of reinforces what your suspicions were, I feel
Right.
like, if that's the reaction you get.
Yeah.
So were you like raised like this like your entire life?
No, it deterred into insanity. But I
Okay.
think there was always some level of darkness. I don't know how to describe it.
Okay.
I wish I knew how to, because I've wrestled with it for a long time. That's a good question.
Well, like, so like, was your upbringing pretty normal, or was it pretty extreme as well?
There were definitely extremes. My parents divorced when I was young. I had shared custody and I bounced between them. And let me think here. I'm trying to think of anything that was weird. I did go to a private school in elementary.
I mean, like celebrated holidays and stuff like that.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's
now
what I
that
mean.
think about
Like,
it.
that's what I'm
Okay.
thinking. Like, did you celebrate holidays?
reaction
or,
already.
like-
Yeah, okay. We didn't celebrate Christmas. You know what we
What
is-
celebrated?
What did you
I was gonna
celebrate?
say.
Solstice.
Okay.
Yeah. I still got gifts.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
But yeah, I have nothing against solstice, but I remember saying that to my classmates when I was in middle school, and they were like making fun of me. Like,
did they give you, like, reasoning as to why they did that and why they didn't celebrate Christmas? I mean, I understand.
I didn't really
that's
question that. That's
Right.
one of those things that just flies under the rug, and maybe that was a good thing. And I don't know. But the thing is, I'm trying to think of like things that were weird outside of like.
Oh, you celebrate birthdays?
Yeah, we celebrated birthdays.
Okay, so it's not like Jehovah Witnesses where they like celebrate nothing.
Did you
Oh,
celebrate
God.
Easter, or were they just like, because that's also a big religious.
Only with the elders.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I do think that my family is based in like harsh kind of Christian beliefs, like a rooted Christian beliefs, kind of like the Church of Xenos. But I think there's like somebody's will being imposed there that's making this all a bad thing. And in this case, I know whose will it is, And
Right.
Xenos, it's probably just like a family on top, probably, but. I feel like I'm rambling. Sorry.
It's all right.
I'm getting a little nervous on here.
Oh, that's cool.
No, it's fine.
When did you start realizing like something was not on the up and up? When did
Like,
you,
this isn't
when did you start
normal.
putting when you start putting the pieces together?
Like, where you realize like that there was a difference between, okay, this is more than just a bad experience or a bad point in my life. This is something more.
Yeah. Okay. So, what had happened in 2019? I moved in with my family because of the COVID problem that was coming up. I had also just graduated college.
Okay.
So, moved in with them while the COVID stuff was happening. The day after I moved in, they said, why haven't you found a new place yet? And I was like, well, I'm definitely looking. Like, you can even look
Right.
at my internet history. Like, I'm definitely.
So were you supposed to just live there for a day, an
And
hour?
apparently, I don't know, because I had moved in a decent amount of stuff, and they had a spare bedroom for me. But when I thought that was kind of weird, and then I would hear them talking about me, like, what are we going to do about him?
Like you were a problem?
Yeah, yeah, and this is family. I'm not going to say
Right.
specifically.
Well,
which
not
family,
just
but-
that, but like I
Yeah.
feel like at the age you're at in your life, like
Yeah.
we should be beyond
Yeah,
those type of conversations.
yeah, and there was a monetary exchange from me to them. So
Even like having someone like crash on your couch for a couple days, like you're not gonna be like first day, like, hey, when you can leave,
Right.
you get out.
Get out of here.
It's like,
I know that we said you could come stay, but get out of here.
But if you think about that, their goal when saying that isn't to get me to leave.
really?
No. Okay, so what was the goal?
then.
The goal is to start to do that Psy-ops shit, to start to gaslight me. Oh, so I start to think,
So then they can turn around and be like,
and-
hey.
no, it's okay. You haven't found a place yet.
Right.
No, it's fine. And then the cycle just continues over and over and
I feel like
over.
that would make more
And
sense.
it's
Yeah.
day after day, or even several times in a day. And then eventually the argument came up where I was like, hey, you know what? I feel like what you're doing and expecting me just to suddenly have tons of money and a new place to live, it comes from a place of extreme ableism. And you don't have to agree with that, but that's how I feel. And then that's when like shit just absolutely exploded.
And you would think within the situation, as far as what was going on in that period of time, there would be a little bit more understanding that, like, even if I did have all this money, this process isn't going to go as fast as it would normally because we're entering a pandemic and things are changing.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially this is like, because you said this is when? This is like right at the beginning of the
This
pandemic?
was essentially the end of December, January.
Okay, so like
Yeah.
So
going
right when it's right the very beginning,
Right
like
at the very
right, I
beginning
feel
of
like
the
that was
pandemic.
right when the point when they said like
Americans were-
this is happening, this is coming,
Yeah.
just so you know, it's going on here and it is coming. There's no maybe. So I think at that point we knew.
But even still,
we
like,
knew.
I remember like I was doing stuff even until like March of that year. So
Same,
it's
but I
like-
do
I
remember, like, knowing full
it's
well
okay, it's-
that, like-
I just, knowing like something was about to happen. Didn't know what.
Like shit's about to hit the fan. I didn't know the
Realize
extent
the
either. I
extent
don't think
either.
a lot of us did,
No,
but
we
I mean,
didn't.
still, like,
Well, I think some people do.
What was
yeah,
really
true.
funny,
I know what you're saying. Yeah, true. Some people did know. Some
and when March rolled around and when like things really shut down, and they were like, "Oh no, you're fine to stay here. You don't even need to pay us. It's fine." Next week they're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna need $500."
that they know you don't have because they just told you that.
Well, I was still working, so I had money to give them, and unfortunately, I lost a lot of money to them.
Do you ever think that they took advantage of the pandemic situation, like as far as like being in a situation where, you know, we had like as a whole society, we had to be careful. We had to limit the contact with other people, and maybe that they took a little bit of advantage of like, well, you can't go certain places and do, so you basically work and come there and like.
Yeah, and coincidentally, I think it was like March or April, I got in a really bad car accident and lost my car. Like it got totaled.
Oh, that makes it even
So
worse
it
because you
got
can't.
even way worse.
And I'm sure like
I
they're.
was- and then they're like, and then every day I would wake up, they'd be like, "Have you found a new car yet? Have you found this, that yet? Have you found?" And we'd be like, "I just woke up." Or it would be like right when I get off work, they'd be like, "Have you found a new place yet?" And I'd be like, "No, obviously not. I just came back home." Like,
So what do you think was the purpose of them like doing this? Like asking you.
well, they acted like it was motivation. That's what they acted like. It was anything but motivation. If anything, it was really deterring my sense of self-value. Like, oh, I can't do this. Wow, if they're expecting me to be able to do this so easily, why can't I do it?
Right.
And that really fucks with somebody's head. That really fucks with someone's head.
Yes.
There's something that came up in my like a kind of like a trigger.
Okay.
I don't like to use that as a buzzword, but have you guys ever heard of rebirthing therapy?
No.
No.
Maybe it sounds familiar. If you start talking about it, I'll let you know if I have.
So to your audience, this is going to be really nasty.
Sorry, everybody.
It's where it's usually used in cases of adoption, where a child needs to have more of a connection with their parents or an attachment to their parents.
Okay.
So they do a process that's called rebirthing. So basically, they throw a bunch of blankets on the child. A bunch of adults sit on the child. And they
That's
scream
terrifying.
at the child, telling them that they're worthless, telling them that they're a quitter, and telling them this, that, and the other thing. Almost always the child will piss, shit, and vomit all over themselves. Sometimes the child will die. And when I first learned about this, I was like, I've done this before.
What?
I've done this. No, I remember this. And I remember getting out of the blankets and screaming at my, and they were like, that's not the right response. And
How old were you when that happened?
definitely 7 or 8, something like that. Something really
Who
young.
would like sit and think that was like an okay?
Or healthy.
But that was
I mean,
a repressed
especially
memory.
at that young
It's a
age.
serious
I
repressed
don't
memory.
blame you. I don't blame you.
Whoa.
I would definitely have repressed memories if I did that too. Like, what? I just don't understand. Like, what person sits down and thinks that, you know, a young child that's
Dude,
a
that would
proper
fuck me
mental
up.
right? Like,
Well-
you're just so sensitive when you're young mentally and.
Well, the thing is something that the psychologists at that time would say is they would scream at the child and call him a quitter over and over. And when I watched a video of that on YouTube, it was like, oh my God.
Something like
Jar.
switch just flipped.
Like it was like a repressed memory just clicked off on my head, and I was like, oh my God. Why do I? Now I know why I freak out
I
when
feel
people call
like
me a
that.
quitter.
Yeah, that would definitely be like a moment where I would be like, I'd be upset and I'd be distressed, but at the same time, I would be curious as to like, okay, is there anything else that that might have happened that I thought was normal that is like completely out of the ordinary?
Dude, that's nuts.
Well, that's kind of why I'm having a hard time answering the question where it started or where I noticed it,
Right.
because I didn't notice it honestly until like 2019, 2020.
Well, that's
Right.
that's usually what happens to a lot of people who grew up in like really cult like they don't really realize it until later on
Right.
in their life when they're like,
When you look back,
or something is like some like, or you know, they have like that moment of like aha, you know, and it's
Yeah.
like a lot of mini moments of aha until like the final
there's a
one.
big
Like,
one where you're
okay.
like, oh my God, like
And
what
like,
was
this
that?
is not right. This is not normal.
And I'm sure you're gonna have more of that, like as
Oh,
time
I'm going
goes.
to,
You're gonna be
yeah.
like, oh my God, like
a lot of ex-Scientologists, you know, have a very similar story. Also, ex-Scientologists and also Jehovah's Witnesses. All of them have like this is
Yes.
like strong
Yeah.
like aha moments where they're like, okay, this is not normal. This is not right. And
but it's almost like you're, you know, if you're brought up in a certain situation like that or similar to that, it's almost like the term I would use is almost like you're being groomed.
right.
Oh yeah.
Which I hate to use that term because it's what they say when, you know, it's a term that's associated with like pedophiles a lot. But at the same time, like I feel like that you can use it in that situation. And that's basically what's happening is you're being groomed to become, you know, part of their organization or thought process. Or,
Did you hang out
belief
with like
system.
any other kids at the time, like when you're younger and stuff like that?
yeah,
Was
and the
there-
kids you hung out with, were they like
the
whoever you
neighborhood
wanted,
kids,
or was
or-
that like or do you feel like you were like ever forced to hang out with like, or given the thought was put into your head like this is who you have to hang out with? I'm loving your facial expression responses right now.
No, but I will tell you some interesting things about my childhood. Like,
I feel like we're pressing some buttons right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah, no, it's good. It's good. The thing is I was always the kid with the weird household or the weird parents, or nobody wanted
I
to
was gonna
stay
say
the night at
nobody.
Derek's house because it's weird.
Yeah.
Just because there's just all these weird arbitrary rules. Like, God, I can't even think of any because I'm just on the spot. But
But it's probably also too because like
it
some of it you just like you didn't think anything of it at the time.
no,
Right.
not at all. I was like, why do my friends hate my parents, or why do my friends not want to hang out with me? It's so weird. Like,
What's wrong with me?
yeah, well,
Because any young person, adolescent person would think, what's wrong with me? They wouldn't, you know, they don't know to always go to the bigger picture.
Right.
and that's a huge problem with indoctrination is like reflecting on yourself on about it and self-reflection. Like
Right.
if you were self-reflect on your own indoctrination, it can get really scary because you're like, how did I let that happen?
Right.
Nobody goes into Church of Scientology and says, "This is the way."
Yeah,
like, I mean, or
here's-
they don't. Like, they
This
don't.
is it.
No, they don't say this is a cult, and I want to be a part of this cult. They don't do that.
Yeah,
No,
no,
it's-
nobody does
Well,
that.
like, okay, Scientology is we'll use Scientology as an example here. Scientology, what they do is like they give you like the basic self-help crap that every like organization or whatever gives you. They feed you like here's things to make you better, and it's some of it's like really basic self-help stuff that actually works. And it's not just Scientology. It's, you know, it's just basically thinking better. It's all PMA, a lot of stuff. And then as it goes on, then it's like, okay, cool. Now we have you. You got the sales
Right.
pitch. You're in. And now it's like, and then the process of like brainwashing and controlling and everything else starts manipulating, starts happening. And it's very slow and gradual to
Yeah.
the point where,
You don't know.
yeah. And then by the time you realize that it's like you're ingrained and your entire life is built around it. Your friends are built around it. Your job is built around it.
You
and
don't
then-
know anything else.
Yeah. And it's
I
like,
recently watched a documentary on Waco, Texas, and that whole situation.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing that they were talking about. Like it was slowly built into these people over time that when it got to the point when they were all trapped into that building together and they knew that the outcome wasn't going to be good, like no one cared and they didn't seem to understand. They just knew that they were being told, don't leave. So they just accepted it.
well, some of them wanted to stay.
Right.
Like
Well,
a lot of, actually,
well,
most of them
that's what I'm
did.
saying. They,
It's
they
like-
most of them did stay, and
yeah.
they wanted to stay because they were fed that.
And-
They were fed that that's what they were supposed to be doing, and that's what God wanted them to do was stay and support Him with when really
Well, because
he's
he
a
was
crazy
like-
psychopath.
Well, because he was the second coming of Christ. That was
Right.
that was
Exactly
the
what he
whole, that
said.
was
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
yeah, that was the whole thing. They were
And
were
like,
following Christ.
there's all these people too that they talk to
by arming themselves with lots of weapons.
Well, there was all these people too, which you think is, but then there was all these people too that they talk to that were part of it and are still consider themselves part of that religion. That still to this day believe the guy, and I forget his name because he holds no importance to me.
David Koresh.
Yes, that Koresh is still going to come back.
Yeah,
He's going to come back from the dead just like Christ did, and that they are still believing this because when he comes back, they want to be ready and prepared to follow him again.
well, it's just like Scientologists, and they're waiting for the reincarnation of
Right.
Yeah.
the greatest salesman who ever lived.
Oh.
Okay.
So
man.
anyway, going back to
Right.
you.
Well, what really kind of
So there was no like cult leader with your situation though. There wasn't like anybody that was like guiding your family though.
not officially, no.
Yep.
But not official. But
Yeah.
so yes, I feel like I understand what you're saying. Like there was no official title, but there was definitely someone that had a hold.
I can tell you that it's a very matriarchal system.
Okay.
That's what I can tell you.
Yep.
But something that they did that really put me under their control, that was very upsetting, that I found out slowly and more as I grew up, is that my family was telling my teachers, my coaches and everything, they were telling them that I was autistic or special needs. And I don't think I'm autistic. I have nothing against people that suffer with autism. I think I have a decent ability in expressing myself, and I don't think that I am autistic. I definitely maybe suffer from a little ADHD.
Which is different.
It's different, but some psychologists will say that it's on the same scale, but that's all hearsay right now.
But I feel like that's a big thing to go around telling teachers and coaches about your child if you've not taken your child to be officially diagnosed and you have no official diagnosis, which you clearly don't for a reason. And you wonder if maybe they knew that. They never got an official diagnosis because they knew they couldn't get one. Instead, we're just going to say it.
Yeah, I can't say I knew the exact reason for that, but I know it made my teachers treat me a lot different than everybody in my class. You
wonder maybe if that's what it was. Like it was maybe two things that I can think of was because people would treat you different, as well as that's going to mentally affect you. And to a point, it's going to make you think that you need them as some sort of crutch because you're not capable of being a full human being without some type of support.
You've hit the nail on the head on that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm able to remember another weird thing that was able to happen, and in a cult-like area, you can't joke around about anything subjective, anything even that the organization is against.
Yeah.
So laughing when Bill Cosby got arrested.
Right.
That was wrong. That
Okay,
was
I immediately
really,
just start laughing.
yeah, okay. Let me think here.
Just want some pudding pops. We know what you meant by pudding pops. Bill Cosby. We know what you meant.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're talking about, though. You can't laugh about that. And you said that immediately. I started laughing.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's the normal human response. Like,
or any joke that involved anything remotely sexual, anything like something.
It's taboo. Like,
no, it was like, that's a joke about rape. Don't do that. That's a joke about rape.
Because they make you feel like something
it would be the most extreme.
Right.
Even though it's just like a basic sexual
because
joke, not
they
even
don't
about rape.
Nothing about rape. Nothing about violating. Nothing like that.
It's a natural thing, but they want to make you feel like it's unnatural.
Yeah.
And that you shouldn't be talking about it or associating or even thinking about it.
Stifling the person,
Right,
putting them down, make sure they're controlled.
Right.
That's really what it is.
And if you say that or you think about it, then you're immediately having these feelings of guilt associated with it.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes.
Spot
yep.
on.
That's what that's all about.
Yeah. And
which I think is completely wrong because, that's definitely a natural part of human life. That's how we reproduce.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. But the thing, it's just like, if I were to say, and jokingly, does my butt look big in these jeans? That's about rape, Derek. Stop it.
Jesus.
Something like that.
Wow.
It would be something like that.
That's insane.
Like that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Instead of just answering the question.
Instead of being like, oh, yeah, sure, your butt looks big. Or, dude, Derek, that's not funny. Or you could easily say that.
Yeah.
But no, it was,
That is really weird.
Well, it's the process of stifling somebody,
Yeah.
constantly
Right, which
putting them
is-
down. And
Because you can control them that way.
I know this because of this, but the definition of power in a human sense is having others carry out your will. So
Yeah.
think about that. Power over a person is having them carry out your will.
Yeah.
So it comes down to kind of almost a religious angle by itself, where you think, is submission to a belief system freedom? And in this case, for me, it wasn't. It was the exact opposite. I can't say that, submitting to a religion is freedom, but I mean, not
Right.
freedom. I'm not going to say that it's not freedom, and like polarize people. But in this case, my submission felt like freedom, but it was not.
Right, which I understand what you're saying. Like, it's everyone's, you're entitled to believe whatever you want to believe.
Of course,
And,
yeah.
that's absolutely your right as a human. And I'm not going to tell anybody they're wrong. But when it gets to a point like that, when it's a degree where you are causing that kind of mental harm on somebody, or even in some situations you're causing physical harm or encouraging somebody to cause physical harm on other people, then at that point it's not okay anymore.
Yeah.
Having any type of religious belief should not cause an individual to have mental or physical harm on themselves or other people. At that point, then like something's wrong.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because I think I think there's a lot of good that can come out of religion. I
Right.
think there's also a lot of people also use it to corrupt as well. So,
Unfortunately, yeah. But
Yeah.
I think that
That's where
just comes
power
with this
thing
day and
Yeah,
age.
comes in,
exactly.
having others carry out your will.
but if I meet people, I have friends who are Muslim, and it's they tell me about it. I'm like, it sounds cool, man.
Right,
I'm
yeah.
and, they're really good people. It makes them a good person. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm glad. I know people who are strong Christians, and again,
Right.
they're awesome. Like,
I mean, I recently dated a girl that was Hindu, and she was really cool.
Yeah.
Didn't work out, but she was really cool.
and I've met atheists who I couldn't stand.
Right. Right. I mean, like, I think that's a perfect example.
And I've met
like,
Christians who have have irated me to no extent.
I think basically what that comes
So it's
down
like-
to is like what you believe shouldn't define your personality.
Thank you.
Right.
I'm
And
so
when
glad you
it
say that.
starts
Yeah.
to do that, like what you're talking about is like it's starting to define you as a person, and that's what they want, obviously.
Yeah.
That's when the red flags should start shooting up. Because
Yeah.
you should be able to have these relationships with somebody, you should be able to have a Hindu girlfriend. We should be able to have friends that don't believe the same things we do. Because I feel like that helps us, grow and learn, and that brings a more wholesome relationship. But yeah, when it gets to the point where
So
it's that's who you are.
Yeah.
So for you, were you raised super strict religious?
Yeah, was there any religions involved in this, or was there
I will disclose the religions, but I don't want to talk about who is who.
Okay.
Okay.
Just to avoid specific anybody getting sued.
That's fine.
So there was Catholicism, then it was Christianity,
which are similar?
and then it was weird Christianity, where we went out to a church in the middle of the woods with the priest he's a nice guy, but he's very flamboyant.
Okay.
Very flamboyant, and he liked to tickle.
All right.
I was gonna ask when you said that.
Yeah.
When you started to go down that road, if there was something else going on there,
Yeah.
because that makes you seem
I remember
like
yelling at him to stop, and people laughing, and it wasn't good.
that
But
was probably maybe the intentions behind having that type of setup.
It's to make me feel weak.
Right. It's
Powerless.
too that is what it is, and this is where it's located conveniently out in the woods, and I'm
Yeah.
also gonna
Way
do
out in
this.
the middle of
But the
nowhere.
church seems like maybe this is like
No,
a
it was a
disguise.
house. It was a house.
Chill.
It was
This
somebody's
is like, I'm
house.
saying this is what it right. I'm saying this is what it is, but this is really my disguise to be able to do the
Whatever
type
you
of
want.
thing. Right. Probably.
There's a lot of that.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, in the higher ups of the Mormonism, they have that, and also Jehovah's Witnesses. There's rampant abuse in Jehovah's Witnesses,
Yes.
and it's really unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. Never had a problem with the Catholic Church, surprisingly, though. That's what's so surprising. You know, I remember the priests I talked to. They were nice guys. They were nice guys. That's a joke I couldn't have made right there. That's a joke I could not have made. That would have been.
I feel like that
Derek,
would have been
that's a joke
real
about
bad.
rape. And kind of. It's more alluding to sexual things, but that's a joke I couldn't have made right there.
Right.
Yeah. I'll ask you guys a question.
No, what's up?
Sure, yeah, go.
Do you guys have repetitive dreams? Or any kind of like dream that just keeps happening that you're trying to figure out?
Not as of recently, but I used to, yes. I used to have.
We just talked about that.
Yeah, we did. We did actually. I used to have several different repetitive dreams. I had a really weird one when I was little that I vaguely remember. I had a period of time where I repetitively had dreams about losing my teeth, which apparently I've heard various things that that's supposed to mean.
Yeah.
And then I also had a period of time where I always had repetitive dreams. It wasn't always the same exact situation, but it was very similar. I was always somewhere driving, and I always was in the same car, and I would get like pulled over, and something stupid would happen, and they would arrest me and take me to jail for like something really stupid, and I would wake up like, nobody's gonna take you to jail for that.
I don't really have repetitive dreams. I have a couple locations that I've constantly revisited. One was a theme park. It's really weird. It's like a bizarre land of like Cedar Point or Kings Island. It's like really strange, but every time I go there, it's always like there's always a couple roller coasters. They're always there.
Is it scary?
No, not normally. But it is. It always seems off, because it's a dream. So it's my brain doing engineering,
Like I had
building
a
stuff.
One,
So nothing like adds up, or nothing really makes sense. The roller coasters are really bizarre looking because it's my brain making them, and I am nowhere near
Every
an
time
engineer.
you look at it, it'll be different.
Yeah.
I had a similar thing that I was talking about too, where it's like I have a location, like, but it's mildly terrifying. There's always this highway in my brain that sometimes I like get taken to in my dreams, and whenever it appears, it's kind of terrifying because I know what the outcome of the dream, where it's going. So like you get on this highway and then you'll get off to exit somewhere, and the sign says you're going to wherever it is you want to go, but when you get off, you know that you're not going to be where you want to go. It's gonna spit you out somewhere bad. Yeah. You don't know where it's going to be. That's going to be bad, but you're going to be somewhere bad.
Why are you asking?
You want to?
I do want to know.
I'm so ready. I'm so ready.
Why are you asking?
So I do have a dream that's repeated, and that I've confronted my, I guess, captors with. And so the dream is, and this is the trigger in the dream that I know it's going into that direction. A beer bottle flies past my head, smashes on a wall right next to me. I look down, and my ankle is chained to the floor. Now, that's never happened in particular. Okay. But
I feel like it's also very symbolic.
Except for the beer bottle. The beer bottle didn't happen.
The beer bottle happened.
But the thing is in this dream, the moment I realize that I'm either locked in a room or chained to the floor, I'm insanely fucked up. Like, I can't communicate. Like, I'm trying to, like, yell out the window, and I'm just going... And I can see people out the window, and I'm like banging, and they just like.
Hey, Derek, how you doing?
And that dream happens a lot, and I tried to like talk to the people that I'm having this dream about, and they're just like, all right, well, that sucks. So, Jordan, if I had a dream, it was like, Jordan had a dream that you tortured me and you locked me in a room and you drugged me. What would your immediate response be? It probably wouldn't be that, would it?
No.
I would be concerned as to like, I would be like, why did I do something? I might concerned be like, did I do something that upset you, like that we need to talk about? Because I want to know, like. Yeah. And I'm sorry if I like that would be my
I'd also be like,
and
do you have violent do you want to like commit like violence against me or something?
Well, right, that too. Like, is there something going on? Like, what happened? Let's talk about this.
Now imagine if that happened like several times, and it was like 5 times in a row, 5 days in a row. I'm like, Jordan, I had that dream again where you tortured me and you had me locked in a room and drugged me.
I would like want to sit down and be like, okay,
same. I'd be like, we need to sit down and
obviously
talk.
There's something we need to talk about.
We need to figure it out because I want to help you. Would be as a friend, I would be like, yeah, let's sit down and talk about this so we can figure it out.
Yeah, and this is how I found out that I was screaming in my sleep.
Oh, you're having night terrors?
I was, for a while. Not anymore though. But they were like banging on the door, and going, shut stop, and I'm just like wake up and I'm be like,
Oh my God.
So did you ever figure out
Is
what
this your
was
neighbors?
causing it?
no, not my neighbors.
Okay.
Did you ever figure out, like, was there, like, some internal fear that was causing it, or are you still just kind of, like, trying to figure that out?
There is an internal fear that
Because that would be my
that
guess.
I'll be captured again or taken in again, or
Do you think maybe part of that fear is, like, an internal fear that, like, you feel like if you are taken again to that could eventually lead to that kind of situation because you've already left once, that they're going to try to prevent you from leaving?
yeah.
They're going to, like, chain you to the floor and cut your tongue out, maybe? It's funny.
See,
It's
no,
funny,
I get it.
I don't
Yeah.
mean to laugh, but
But
Yeah.
it's funny, but, like...
That is a definite fear. But I am not pro-gun, but that's the only thing that made me feel safe in my own home. I'll tell you that. I had to get one, and I've never used it once. I don't want to use it, but
You know, I mean, yeah,
I
if
feel
it makes
safe
you
at home.
feel...
I feel safe at home.
You know, I've heard situations of other people in similar situations once they've left, they've done similar things because they feel like they always have this internal fear that they're going to come back for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to go. Like, I don't want to go back to that. So I need to
Never.
protect myself. And if this is the ultimate protection that, like, the step that I have to take to prevent myself from going back, I've heard of other people doing that. Like, you know, basically, like, I'm not going back, and if I have to shoot him to prevent it, like...
I have a friend who, she was walking down the street and 5 guys jumped out of a van and tried to kidnap her. And she ran away. She got away, and right after that, she got her carry conceal.
I don't blame her. I would
that
do the
would
same
terrify
thing.
me because I would feel like that
Do the
was
same
like
thing.
with that group of big of a people in a van, like my immediate thought would be like human trafficking.
Yeah, that was
Absolutely human trafficking.
well, it was one of the scariest stories someone told me that I know, and I was like, that's insane. So
Yeah.
Stuff
Yeah.
like that makes me like terrified to walk down the street by myself at night.
And I feel like that's
was
the reason to have a firearm as a civilian. I feel is purely locked up in your home, self-protection, or maybe at your hip.
and
at
this happened at
self-protection.
one of the more like busiest intersections in Columbus.
I definitely
Yeah.
don't
think,
have
like
a
Broad High?
firearm, but I
What?
do
Broad High?
have.
Around there.
Well, I
used to
feel
work o-
like
I used to
too
work
with
over
stuff
there,
like
so-
that, like it's maybe easier because there's more people, and like if there's think about trying to do something like that, if there's less people around, someone's going to catch you doing
It actually
it.
happened at this happened a couple years ago, but it actually happened at the Gateway on campus.
God.
But if you remember, Gateway was built on an abandoned lot where all the pimps and whores and like they would sell drugs on the corner of 11th and High all
Yeah.
the time.
Clearly,
and
they're just coming back to their roots.
And then they they built this like this movie theater and everything else there. But yeah, she was walking out of the Gateway. And that's where it happened.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Yeah.
it was like one of those dangerous corners on campus.
this is why I carry like a weapon on my
Yeah.
keychain of my keys, like because of this very reason. Like I used to live in downtown Columbus, and like I had to take the bus to and from work, and sometimes by the time I got off the bus, I still would have to walk a couple blocks to my apartment. And
Yeah.
that is why, because I never knew what was going to happen. And
Yeah.
I remember when Keith and I first started dating, to like the nights I got off the bus, he also would talk to me on the phone while I walked back to my apartment for this very reason.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's people do some things like
Process of self-preservation.
Right, right.
Whatever makes you feel safe, and sometimes you got to take extreme measures. I mean, some people make a bunker because they think nuclear war is coming.
Right.
You know, some people do that, and that's kind of a legitimate worry, but kind of,
something could happen.
Some people are just absolutely afraid of nukes. I had a period in my life where I was afraid of nukes. I remember it was 1996 when I first found out what nukes were. I was like 10 years old, and I was like,
What? Why?
Nukes are terrifying.
I will say, as far as the bunker thing go, that's never been a desire of mine. I've never been like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. But there are moments like, because I'm a big, as far as video games go, I'm a very huge Fallout series fan. Part of my brain is like, maybe that wouldn't be a bad idea to have one of those
yeah, but then you got
bunkers or something. But I'm not gonna do
you
it.
got to think about the typical kind of person that has a bunker.
Right. And I'm not like that. So
and then people are gonna be
don't-
like, "You have a bunker? Like,
What do you use the
Right.
bunker
like
for?
what do you have a bunker for?"
Yeah, what do
Right.
you use it for right now?
Right. Who's in there?
Most people
Right
probably
now.
if anyone has a bunker, it's probably used for storage, and it's probably just like they probably have an itemized list of everything that's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of keeping people chained up, though, I mean, that's what I would
Yeah, that's
think. Like,
That's
Kinda
what
where
in your
that's what
segue.
basements are for, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. One thing that was kind of weird is they were totally all right with smoking weed.
Really?
Yeah. Like they
Wait, so you can't make sex jokes, but you can smoke weed.
Yeah.
So like Xenos, you mentioned Xenos. I remember I went to a Xenos wedding. Ooh. Yeah, it was one of the most loveless weddings I've ever been to. It was weird. I mean, it was just really, really strange. It wasn't like, I don't know, it was just like everything just felt cold. Like there was nothing was really inviting about it. It was just really strange. And I went to
so unnatural.
And I went to like the thing is like Xenos is like they do like co-ed and like sleeping and stuff like that. They have like houses where they do like co-eds and stuff like that. But like I went to like the bachelor party. There was tons of alcohol. Like just tons. Like they are big drinkers. Like drinking is totally okay and with Xenos. Like there was
drunk people are in control.
There was like tons of alcohol.
Right. So you can have it, but only when they say.
Right. It was just like I don't know, but like
I feel like that's what that was. Like,
it was like it's like it like feels like
say.
it felt like I went to like this bachelor. Like it felt like I was at a like best way to describe it. It would be like because we were at the church for the bachelor party. Like that's where like they had like the like the what is it like for the crap like the trial run and everything like that. They did all that and then. Everyone like separated and they were like, okay, we're gonna like eat dinner and like drink and stuff. And they had the bachelor party at the church, which I thought was really weird. Like, we're like drinking and all like stuff like that.
Control thing.
Yeah, it was really strange. I felt like I was at like a camp like counseling thing. Like, you know, we're like, oh, let's go. Like, we're gonna be like with all the campers like hanging out, but there was still like somebody there was still kind of like moderate. It was really strange. I was like,
sounds really weird.
I'm like, this is the weirdest.
It sounds very uncomfortable. Like that would just make me very uncomfortable.
And it was funny because I was with my it was my ex-girlfriend's sister was getting married, and so the husband to be invited me to the bachelor party and like stuff, and I was like, okay, because he invited her father too.
How awkward.
So I think her father wanted me to go. It's just like, I need someone normal. No, it's like how long with her father really well.
Right.
And he was like, they're like, you're invited. And she was like, you should go because my dad's going to need someone to talk to.
And
that's what I did. I sat next to her dad. And I'm like, this is crazy. I'm surrounded by a bunch of 20-year-olds, and the one person I'm getting along with is like this 50-year-old hippie dude.
So, like, kind of similar situation, like being in a crowd that you don't have, like, you know, that's part of something like that. I had a friend years ago who was a Jehovah's Witness, and she started dating a guy who was not a Jehovah's Witness. So obviously they shunned her for this. And she wasn't really able to see her family or talk to them. And she wanted to go to church one day because she just wanted to see her family, and that was the only way she could see them. And like I had known all this stuff was happening. She'd talked to me about it. And she was telling me like one day, because they had like a church service in the afternoon. It was like a Saturday or Sunday. And she was just very nervous about it. And she was talking all day and she wasn't sure if she was going to do it, if she wasn't going to do it. And then finally it just got to be closer to time. And I could tell she wanted to, and I felt bad. And I was like, listen, would it make you feel more comfortable if I went with you? So I went with her. And oh my goodness, like, so I'm sitting here, obviously, you know, you walk into that situation, they know you're not one of them. Mm-hmm. The guy that's preaching is up there talking. He gets to this point in his sermon where he starts discussing how, you know, their theory as far as who's going to hell and who's not. Like, if you're not a Jehovah's Witness, you're obviously you're going to hell. Okay. And like, he's saying all this, and like, imagine you're me. He's saying all this and looking right at me like this while he's doing it.
Priests do that a lot.
And I was like, and it was very like, it's very uncomfortable. Well, right.
It's not welcoming in the slightest.
Yeah, but that's also it's also part of the sales pitch.
It's
like,
a
okay,
sales
you're new. I know you're not here, so it's like.
I felt,
but it's like a backward sales pitch because.
I felt like it was a sales pitch, but I also felt like it was that / he was letting me know, like, he knew why I was there. He knew I had no interest and like in becoming part of their thing. And like, it was like he was telling me, like, you're not part of us and you're not good enough.
Well, you're the outsider, so you're the weak one.
Right, exactly.
So
that's exactly what it felt like. And I was just like, I didn't say anything to anybody there, and I kind of was just like, whatever. I was kind of beyond that because I was like, this has no personal effect on my life, and this is not at all why I'm here. So if that's what you want to think, fine, cool. I'm going to walk out the door and I'm going to be just fine.
Yeah, well, it's that holier than thou kind of thing.
Right.
Oh God, yeah, that's like indoctrination 101.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to one of these things here because I actually can find a good note here that I made. So, no job I had was good enough. No job I ever had was good enough.
Damn, my family sometimes are just like, oh, good, you have a job.
I remember
Right.
I was working for a while for Apple Incorporated, like directly for Apple. I was making a lot of money, and I thought I was like, okay, I brought my girlfriend with me to dinner with my family, and I'm thinking at the dinner, like, things are good. I got my girlfriend here, talking to my family, and then they said, so you're working at Apple now? I was like, oh yeah, it's doing pretty good. And they're like, how long is it going to be till you get fired from there?
Wow.
And I remember looking over at my girlfriend and being like, I'm sorry, I don't know why they're doing this. And so, yeah, guess what happened right when I freaking, in early 2020?
Lost your job.
I was told that my job is just shit. I should have a better job. So you need to quit. You need to quit.
Okay. This is why you're living with them, right?
Not well, I'm already living with them.
Okay, yeah.
So,
that's what I'm saying, yeah. So
this is another method of control again.
Right, because if you quit, then you're more relied on. You have to rely on us more.
And them because you have to like, well, I don't have money to live, and so I need your help.
Unfortunately, I did quit that job. And then I got another job at a gas station under one of the most toxic people I've ever met in my life. I got a job as a manager there. I worked 1 week, and I quit because I just couldn't do it.
Right.
I immediately got a job at the most recent place I work, and that's great, but that wasn't good enough. Even though I was fresh out of college, bringing home over $3,000 a month.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Working part time, by the way.
Yeah.
25 hours a week. Yeah, that's what I was making.
But I noticed that
that wasn't good enough.
The relying on things seems to be very consistent with like cults and cult type situations. Is
nothing's ever
like as long because they know if you have to rely on them, then you're not gonna leave.
Yeah.
And I've the thing,
can't.
And then unfortunately too that
you're unable to.
eventually just like develops into like a mental thing where like you've convinced yourself like.
Psy-ops.
Yeah, like I have to stay here, and you think you're doing the right thing, which is unfortunate. But I mean, it's like
so at
it's
this point,
just so sad that like people like like you go to that mindset where you think you need something like that, and you cannot be your own person and make your own decisions because ultimately, like they're making decisions for you.
Yes. That's again, they push the person down, control them, make the decisions for them, and then they carry out the will. That's essentially how it works.
So at this point, like you knew that like this is fucked up.
Oh, I knew that it was fucked up by then. I think by like March 2020, I was like when real lockdown hit, I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do?
Right. I was gonna say I couldn't imagine being in that situation where you knew you were gonna be stuck in very close quarters with that type of environment coming down on you constantly. Like I just would feel I don't imagine how I would feel like just knowing like I don't feel like there's any way you could just mentally prepare yourself for that.
There's no way to prepare yourself for it.
Dude, I had to move in with my parents a while back. This was like 9 years ago. My parents are pretty normal, and I was like, after 3 months, I was like, I can't freaking do this. So I can't even imagine like what you went through.
So yeah, it was like basically January to November, and it was like 11 months of pure hell.
Oh my God.
Pure unadulterated hell. And when I finally got out, it was.
So let's talk about that. So how did you?
Yeah,
get out?
that was going to be my next question. What did
Like,
you
how
do? Like,
you...
was there a discussion, or did you just up and leave and just and like?
Nope.
Okay, so what'd you do?
Did they say anything to you?
So when I started noticing like that, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot be around them. Was about like late October, like I think November 1st, November 2nd.
Right on my birthday.
Yeah.
My birthday.
My birthday's November 13th. So
mine's
it was
November
like,
1st.
Okay.
It's like
Scorpios.
a birthday present to yourself.
No, we're all
Well,
Scorpios.
Was it though?
Let me elaborate a little further. So this is when I'm just like, I need to take my life into control. I finally have a good job. I finally have a decent car. I can finally do this. I can escape. I can do it if I really put my mind to it. So I set bait. I set bait for him, and it worked.
That's amazing.
So what I did is I started talking about what was happening on my Instagram, either typing it out into like long posts or just talking directly into the camera.
Okay.
And I did this for like an hour straight while I was like kind of sitting around at work leaving.
So what kind of things were you talking about?
What was exactly everything I've talked about that's been happening. And also more specifically focusing on the thousands of dollars that I lost. So I get a text from them, and they're screaming they're not screaming. Well, they are going to be screaming
Text
at me.
screaming.
They're
Yeah,
text
text
screaming at
screaming.
me, telling me I'm worthless, find a new family, all this, that, and the other thing. So I'm like, all right, you know what?
Okay.
I'm out. And I'm going to come pick up my stuff right now, and I will go get a hotel room. And they're like, you can't come into this house. And I was like, I get mail there. Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Yes, I can. I get mail there. and they're like, well, okay, fine. So I was like, all right, no, it's fine. I will call the cops. They'll meet me here, and they'll help me get my stuff out of the house. So when I get to the house, the cops have not arrived yet. I'm starting to take things very quickly from my room out to my car.
So you actually call the
Out to my
cops?
car. Like, yeah, I call the cops.
That's
and I'm doing
beautiful.
this. I'm
Man.
doing this. I'm doing this. And as I'm doing it, they're trying to like push me down the stairs.
What?
They're pushing me into the wall, trying to like really get me to like hit them back, basically.
Oh, so that when the
Yeah.
cops show
They're
up.
really trying to like really do it. But fortunate for me, they hit me hard enough for me to fall down the stairs and cause bruises.
Oh, so then the cops get there.
So when the cops got there, I sat down on the curb waiting for them. My captors come out and they start screaming at the cops, and they say, "Did you call us?" And they say, "No, he did, And they're like, "All right." They come and walk over to me and they're like, "What's going on here?" And I'm just like, "I just want to get my stuff out. I just want to go. These are horrible people, and I feel like they're gonna try to keep me here." And they're just like, "Do you need help getting stuff out?" And I'm like, "Yes, please." And
Did you tell them about getting pushed down the stairs?
Yes, and
like,
that's when
show them?
I said, "Can you please like take notice of this?" And I had like bruise, and then
You just fell.
I had
So
to like
they're
lift up my
fresh.
shirt, and they took pictures of the bruises, and they asked me if I wanted to press charges. I said yes, but ultimately nothing ever came of it, which is really weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got my stuff out. Called up a close friend of mine, stayed on his couch for 2 days, got an apartment immediately, and then boom, I had my own thing, and I've never looked back.
Good
Nice.
for you.
Good.
Good for
Yeah.
you.
And now I feel safe.
Good.
That's the most important thing, is that you feel safe now.
Yeah.
Do you ever like think about and wonder like, oh, I pressed charges. I wonder what happened that like nothing ever became of that. Do you have like theories, or do you just kind of leave it alone and let that?
I leave it alone because I
Probably
don't
for
ever
the
want
best.
to. I don't ever want to
Yeah.
return to them.
Right.
I don't ever want to.
Right.
Or
You don't
even
want them
talk to
like.
them.
I mean, they've already physically held you captive. You don't want them to, hold your thoughts captive as well.
Right.
So I feel
Yeah.
like that's probably the bigger part. You're being the bigger person on that.
I feel like that would be like asking David Miscavige's father to go back to Scientology.
Yeah.
We've all heard that
Ron
story.
Miscavige.
Oh, Ron. Yeah,
That's his name. Ron Miscavige.
Yeah.
He's a really interesting guy.
Oh, he's interesting. He does embellish a little bit, but
Yeah.
he's,
Right,
he's an
but-
interesting guy.
Him and his wife escaped Scientology by hiding in the back of a truck.
It's an awesome story.
It is. No, it is. It's a great
He
story.
literally escaped Scientology. It's insane.
I read the
so,
book.
Yeah. He's a really interesting guy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
well, I'm glad like things are worked out for you for better now, and like all that shit's behind you.
Yeah, I've learned a lot through kind of introspection, thinking about the past, and I've learned a lot through like the triggers. I think I found out about the rebirthing thing like in actually 2015, actually.
wow.
That's when I just saw it on a YouTube video, like this controversial form of therapy, it needs to be removed, and it's already been removed.
Yeah.
So
Right, I'm sure.
And then like that epiphany happened.
that sounds
and I was
illegal.
Like, it is. It is now.
Yeah,
it is.
it
It,
sounds
wasn't
very
illegal in the early 90s.
I'm not surprised.
That's crazy that like happened.
Yeah.
Like
It's,
you wonder like I my big thing that stands out to me you telling that story is when they said that's not the right reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Like it was like that was a test.
it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to even respond to when somebody says that's not the right reaction.
It's
'cause then
something.
you're
It's
thinking,
something like that. Like
Yeah.
what was
How to
I?
react?
You know, especially when it's something like that. Like, how was I supposed to react when you were basically scaring the shit out of me?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And I will say they were the worst people to smoke weed with.
I bet.
God, dude.
Talk about feeling like paranoid. I feel like I'd
Right.
be like,
I was fine with it. They were just sitting there just. You guys want to watch Deadliest Catch? No, I don't want to watch Deadliest Catch. Fuck that. Like, and they'd always fuck up their bong rips, and it was hilarious. And I'd be like, "You're hitting the bong wrong." I'm not hitting the bong wrong.
you're living your life wrong.
Wow.
We all know what the wrong bong hit looks
Yeah.
like.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
It's unfortunate.
really glad that everything's working out for you now.
Oh, I am too. And the thing is it did act as kind of a writer's block for me for a long time.
I bet.
Yeah.
Because it made me terrified to write about anything.
Yeah.
But now things are going well. Got things going. Got my own website and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you have anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I got a website where I'm keeping my blog work and portfolio work and doing like book reviews, all that good stuff.
That's awesome.
ESODEREK.org, SODerek.org.
We want to thank Derek so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you,
me
Derek.
on.
Yes,
I really
your
appreciate it.
story was incredible.
And I just hope that my stories help somebody.
Right, I was
just
gonna
at
say
least
I
one
hope
person.
Right.
I hope that if anybody's listening or watching this and you
Yeah.
know you can relate to it, I hope it helps you hearing that someone was in a situation and they got themselves out.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm not doing
can
this.
take care of yourself.
I'm not doing this for clout or whatever, I'm doing this because if there's somebody out there that hears this and starts to have an aha moment like I
I
do,
can do this,
Right.
I feel like I've done something right.
which you have.
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah.
Which you have, and I respect the fact that even as hard as this whole situation was for you, you were able to come here and talk about it. So thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And once again, we want to thank Derek for being on the show. My name is Jordan. With me, it's always Ashley. And journey through us next time through this spooky door. Hello, thank you again for watching our video. We also want to thank Derek for sharing his incredible story with us.
However, we also want to take a quick minute to reach out to those who might be in a similar situation or even know someone that is. We want to remind everyone it is okay to find support and seek help.
We wanted to share with everyone an organization we found called daretodoubt.org. Dare to Doubt is a resource hub for people detaching from harmful belief systems.
Their aim is to help those heal from the damage of indoctrination by connecting people with mental health professionals, aid organizations, and peer support groups. They have a wide range of resources to help individuals escape harmful organizations or groups a person might be ingrained in.
Thank you again for everyone for watching our video.
If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at info@spookydoor.com. And thanks again for watching.